The ocean has always been described as the planet's great stabilizer, the vast blue body that quietly absorbs most of the excess heat generated by human activity. But the same quality that has protected life on Earth for centuries now poses one of the greatest hidden dangers to our future. The ocean is storing so much trapped warmth that it has become a ticking time bomb within the climate system. This stored energy does not simply disappear, it circulates, it accumulates, and eventually, it will return to the atmosphere. The grim reality is that the ocean may keep global warming going even if humanity manages to drastically cut greenhouse gas emissions. The planet's largest carbon and heat sink could soon become its most powerful source of continued heating, a feedback loop that neither nature nor human society can easily control. Ocean heat feedback loops begin with a deceptively simple mechanism. When the surface layers of the ocean warm, they absorb less carbon dioxide from the air, weakening one of Earth's natural cooling systems. The warmer surface also creates a barrier that prevents deeper, colder water from rising and redistributing heat. This stratification locks energy in the upper layers of the ocean, increasing evaporation, fueling more humid air, and driving extreme weather patterns across continents. As the air warms, it radiates more heat back into the sea, feeding the very system that started the problem. This cycle becomes self-perpetuating, meaning that even if emissions stabilize, the atmosphere could continue warming for decades as the oceans slowly release their stored energy. The world's current climate models may be underestimating just how long this oceanic memory can keep the planet in a state of fever. The consequences for human health are dire and inescapable. As the ocean continues to transfer heat into the atmosphere, global temperatures will remain dangerously high for prolonged periods, turning once tolerable summers into annual survival tests. Heat waves will grow longer, humidity will climb, and nighttime cooling, the body's only reprieve, will diminish. Under these conditions, the human body struggles to regulate its internal temperature. Heat exhaustion, dehydration, kidney stress, and heart failure become more common. For the elderly, the poor, and outdoor workers, such conditions can be fatal. Hospitals in major cities already struggle during heat surges, and as these become more frequent, medical systems will face sustained overloads that they are not designed to handle. Cooling systems will fail during power outages, water supplies will be strained, and emergency rooms will become overcrowded with patients suffering from preventable heat-related illnesses. Ocean heat feedback also amplifies other invisible dangers. A warmer, wetter atmosphere increases the growth of pathogens and vectors that thrive in heat. Mosquitoes carrying dengue and malaria, ticks spreading new forms of fever, bacteria proliferating in water systems and coastlines. The spread of these diseases is not confined to the tropics anymore. Regions once considered temperate, such as Southern Europe, North America, and East Asia, are beginning to experience outbreaks that medical professionals have little experience treating. As ocean temperatures rise, harmful algal blooms and toxic microorganisms multiply, contaminating seafood and water supplies. Coastal communities, especially those dependent on fishing, face a future where their food sources become vectors of neurological and digestive illness. The health risks tied to the ocean's warming are therefore not gradual, they are exponential, feeding on every additional degree of heat. Beyond disease and heat, the destabilization of weather systems caused by warm oceans will deepen food and water insecurity. The redistribution of heat in the oceans alters rainfall and wind patterns, causing prolonged droughts in some areas and catastrophic flooding in others. Crops that depend on stable growing seasons will fail more often, and livestock will suffer heat stress that reduces productivity. Malnutrition and hunger will not only affect the poorest nations. Global food markets are tightly interconnected, and shortages anywhere can lead to price shocks everywhere. In this feedback-driven future, the ocean is not merely a distant environmental issue. It becomes the engine of economic and humanitarian crises that reach into every home and hospital. The psychological burden of living through this kind of slow-burning disaster will also weigh heavily on global health. Communities repeatedly struck by heat waves, food shortages, or infectious outbreaks experience deep, chronic stress. Studies already link extreme weather exposure to higher rates of anxiety, depression, and suicide. As the planet warms beyond historical experience, this psychological strain may become an underreported epidemic in its own right, especially among young people growing up in a world that feels increasingly unstable. The ocean, once associated with calm and resilience, will come to symbolize uncertainty and threat, a planetary force that mirrors our collective inaction. There is a harsh truth in this story that cannot be softened. The ocean is not a limitless buffer. It has been absorbing the consequences of industrialization for over a century, and now its capacity to protect us is reaching its end. As deep waters release their stored heat, climate stability will unravel in ways that no human technology can quickly reverse. Cutting emissions remains essential, but it will not stop the stored energy already circulating in the ocean from emerging over the coming decades. Policymakers who assume a rapid cooling once emissions decline are ignoring the physics of the planet's largest heat reservoir. This delay, this inertia built into the climate system, means that humanity must prepare for worsening conditions even under the most optimistic scenarios. For health systems and governments, the warning is clear. Resilience must be built now, before the feedback becomes unmanageable. Urban design must adapt to withstand chronic heat, hospitals must upgrade cooling and power infrastructure, and disease surveillance systems must be expanded into regions that will soon host new pathogens. Yet even these efforts may only cushion the impact rather than prevent it. If the ocean continues to warm unchecked, it will ensure that the planet's fever outlasts our efforts to cure it. The danger of the ocean heat feedback loop lies not only in its power, but in its persistence. Once triggered, it can drive global warming long after emissions have fallen, turning the next century into a test of endurance rather than recovery. Humanity's greatest ally in moderating climate has become a reminder of how fragile that balance truly was. The ocean will not forget the heat we have given it. It will return it to us, piece by piece, in waves of heat, sickness, and instability that no coastline or city will escape.